This last section is actually looking into the marketing, right? Of what are some of the, we've been talking about all of these messages, all of the services that are being sold online, and it is, at this point also important to look into, what is being sold and how is that being marketed? And is marketing the only thing that people, are doing out there? And I'm saying just people because the truth is that we do not know who is behind most of the advertising that takes place online. Anybody can do it. I could do it. I could be doing that, right? I could be just going online and posting like "Lo paso por el paso," I get you, I cross you through El Paso, and because there is no control over who is behind any of this messaging. And I don't know if, I don't think we're collecting any comments online, but I know that some of our Facebook colleagues are listening in. So also if they have, you guys have my number, so you can call me if you have any, or you can text message me if you have any questions or specific comments that you want to make about the presentation. Okay. So here we start with some of the points, and again, I'm going to try to leave as much time as possible at the end for specific questions. So following, up to Jesus' question earlier on, what has changed, and why are people in advertising services online? Why about crossing or providing any kind of assistance, right, that is being sold there? It's what appears to be the case, again, keeping in mind that the data is so limited, that we really know so little about this level of communication and facilitation, is that the pandemic changed the nature of smuggling. If you recall, or also using the study that we did in the case of North Africa, people would contact a provider of services, a facilitator, of services online, or somebody who was advertising services, but this contact would usually follow an in-person meeting. So there was a more personal connection, like when people would be able to tell, is this person for real or he's just pulling my leg? And does he have any kind of evidence? Does he have any kind of referral about, or any other proof that he or she, because women participate very actively in smuggling facilitation, that they are legit, that they are actually selling me a service. And with the pandemic, that obviously changes. People are no longer able to meet with many of these facilitators. They cannot really establish that sense of confianza, of trust, that existed before or prior to the pandemic. We also see more people who, because of migration enforcement, get stuck along the way. So they want information, and the only way for them to get some of this information becomes Facebook. Going back to what Estefani was saying earlier, some of the sources, some of the platforms that people use are changing, and people are moving to different ones that provide content that is more in line with what they are looking for. So we'll talk about that in a second as well. But the pandemic limits the ability of people to meet directly and to close these deals the way they traditionally used to, or the way they would like to do it. Again, in that report, that we wrote for the European Commission, said people really want to establish that personal connection, get a vibe of who is the person who is actually going to transport them. So they didn't just want to see a post or a text message, so they were relying a lot on video calls and going by that, kind of the vibe that they were getting from the facilitators. There's also a lot of solicitation for services. People going online, during the pandemic saying, "¿Quién me pasa por Piedras Negras?" Who has services available through Piedras Negras? Is there anybody that you can recommend that will get me through El Paso, Nogales, Matamoros, Reynosa? So people were also reaching out, seeking services, unable to many times to connect or to have another relative or friend who was already at that location. So we see many of these searches for people looking for them, and then I'll show some of those captures in a second. All of these responses that they will get from people DM me. inbox. Hardly anyone was actually sharing information about the crossings right there. And this was because at the same time, as you can imagine, the people who sell the services are widely aware of the fact that they are being monitored. So they were not going to be, not all of them were going to be willing to put their information in there. So there's again this lack of, again, given the pandemic, once again, this lack of context and or reliable information concerning these facilitators. And we also saw a prevalence, or an explosion, rather, of scams. People, you're saying, like, I already paid, they asked me for the money, and I paid, I gave them all the money, and then I never heard from them again. Even though the person who had offered the services had already provided copies of their IFE, the voting card, or pictures, or they had already checked, looked them up, looked through their profile. Once the payment had been made, once the transfer, the money had been transferred, the person or the had offered the service vanished. So what is typically sold online? And here, again, it's not just the crossing. Facilitators are offering all sorts of services. So they can offer you a place that you can stay, where you can stay at. And this is, I'm referring to facilitators, again, in a general fashion, because people are facilitating different elements of the journey. So there's people who are selling accommodations, alojamientos. That's one of the terms that are often offered. Border crossings in the vicinity of a specific, ports of entry. Access to specific agents at specific airports. This was something, also if you were, again, especially during Title 42, there were a lot of people from places like Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, who were flying into Mexico City and then by land to the border, to the U.S.-Mexico border. And there was advertising, that said, I connect you with an agent, you just need to get to the agent. Los bajamos en Ciudad de Mexico, we get you there. There were also raiteros, so people who will give you a ride once you had arrived to a location within the U.S. They have better fitted vehicles that are, sometimes they will put pictures of them, like luxury vehicles that would not, in the words of the people who were advertising them, would not attract the attention of the authorities. Something that I saw across South America this time is that this persona de asesor, of the advisor, that also sells the services, this package that will take you or bring you all the way from Venezuela, all the way from all the way to South America, and includes transfers, hotel rooms, and food. And there's also offers that say you don't have to pay. Once you get there, you pay off by working, which would raise some alerts regarding trafficking in persons. Let me show you some. So these are posts or captures from Facebook, of services that are offered. And I know that these PowerPoints are also going to be available online, so in case you want to access them later, they are right there. The first one is the kind of services that you would see in South America, that are offered for South America. So the large buses that depart from all of these locations, and then they will take you to, again, destinations in Chile and Argentina. Right now, the financial crisis in Argentina is also leading many people to leave. But the tradition, many people who are already living in Argentina to leave, and also many people from Argentina themselves to leave. But the predominant destination at this time in South America continues to be Chile, again, despite the fact that the border is closed to people who are just recently arriving. And the other one is for the U.S.-Mexico border. I'll just translate it really quickly. It's like we are at your disposal. We have, and here, it's important to also see the literacy level, how the words are spelled or misspelled many times. Tenemos cruce por la línea. We can cross you, through the line. Or walking, only 1 hour, guaranteed work, no scams. We depart, 4 times a week. You can call or send a WhatsApp too. Everything is for Tijuana. Work safe and confiable. Forgot the word. Trust. To be trusted. Ánimo raza. So how I don't know how to translate ánimo raza in a way that communicates that encouragement, right? Like, hey, people, let's go, people. You can see the fence there. So these are some of those images. And here, the question is, what can we tell about the marketing? There is really no way to confirm who is selling those services. That's what makes it so simple. Anybody can do it, literally. Services may be sold, but there is really no way to verify a success rate, who is, how effective a specific facilitator may be, or a specific person who is selling the services. We cannot confirm the validity of any of the statements that they make or their truthfulness. Not all the marketing is the same, and you're going to see some of the examples. Some again are just very, that will be more, if we want to call them more professional looking. That looks like the person had a little bit of knowledge on how to manipulate images, like the first one. The other one is, I just put the message on top. I am going to talk also with the people who actually develop, who are content developers and have videos and other content online. So that's, so we know that not all the marketing is the same. So the posts are really revealing of different skills and literacy level. What may also be the case, and here again, the data is very limited. So it doesn't intend to be a conclusive statement about any of the practices, just for all of us to have a sense of how it works. Those who post may be actually providing independent services. People, again, who are taking advantage of an opportunity gap. Like, well, I'm in Mexicali, I may be able to drive somebody, to the fence, or I have a contact who can pick them up once they cross the fence. So these are, messages and very, straight, straightforward messages that offer, this specific services at different stages on the border. The main mechanism, again, to communicate or to disseminate many of these messages continues to be Facebook. What I have noticed, and this is, I need to do more research on that, but there is also, going back to the age question, there is some, and here I am just making kind of like an inference, there's a more dynamic way of posting that doesn't have to do, it doesn't have the same punch to post, I cross you through here and there, than showing in a TikTok, teenagers, because this is something that we spoke about during the last symposium, teenagers that take video of their own crossings and how they are facilitating the crossings and how they are successful at delivering the people, to their destination or transporting people to their destination. So the Facebook, again, the content varies depending on what platform, you are using. The accounts, as you can imagine, the accounts used to post, some of the services are often fictitious. So once you start clicking on, so here's the name of, you click on the profile to get access to who is actually posting this information, you realize that there is nothing there, or that everything they have posted is connected to the facilitation of the service. Many of them have actually a ton of friends or followers, but there is really no way of figure out who this person is, or if he or she are real. And something that going back to the first part of the presentation, people do not only consume the information. It's not like, oh, I know he can cross me with a camargo, so I'm just going to go and do it. People often ask for proof. Like, do you have any pictures of people who have crossed? Who can I call to confirm that this actually happened? Do you have, is there a referral, or do you have any recommendations, any reviews? And this is, like another example of some of the marketing that I was saying. This is super simple, Cruce, again, spelling the words, de Camargo, Tamaulipas, to Houston, Texas, so crossing from Camargo to Houston, and the variation in terms of the fee, how much the fee is depending on what country, the person is from. So this were, back in January when this was captured, you were looking at $7,000, people from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and I just forgot. El Salvador, thank you. And, and the fee is higher for people from South American countries, including Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru. Here we go, with the question is like, okay, so, and I know that this is something that when we work directly with the people, we just want to pull our hair out, right? It's like, why would you do that? Why would you believe on somebody who sold you, who told you, who promised you this? Like that, somebody that you didn't see, that you did not even know existed. How can you do it? What's the logic behind it? And again, we go back to the fact that these are illicit services. It's impossible to confirm or to verify, who is actually behind them. If the provider of the services is actually for real, if it's going to deliver on the promise of the service. So again, advertisers often include in their posts, provide proof, or reviews, and I'll show you this one here. Of, like, yes, this is somebody who made it. Like, look at how much they suffered and what they went through, but they finally made it. So many times they rely on images like this, that to communicate the sense that despite everything going wrong, they finally made it. I'll translate this really quickly. It has several spelling mistakes and says, although... I guess I also have to say apologies for the language and maybe graphic at times. Even though what we were not expecting estuvo la fregada was really bad. Your arrival, we must be grateful. We must be grateful to God for your arrival, and may karma exists. May God bless this little people in their new adventure to be lived in the United States. May God bless them, and here we are, and I will never leave you behind. Mm-hmm. There's, also often this use of religious images and the iconography that is connected with that, and people in vehicles, people walking, through the desert wearing camo. What would be another reason, people, after this, if I see a religious image and people who actually look like they went through the journey, they may actually be engaged in that one. Another one is the advertisers make very good, they have specials, right? So they may provide very convenient payment options. You don't have to pay up front. You just pay on delivery. Or you pay half now, or it's only I won't get your money. You will deposit it with somebody else, and then once you get there, you can give me the rest. So it makes the providers make it convenient for people, and arrangements that are more that seem more attainable or more feasible. Services, again, may also offer other advantages, like these alleged opportunities to pay your fees through work once in another destination. For example, this one that I have right in front of me, and I'll be happy to share some of, if you are interested in some of the data. For example, this one says for 22,500 pesos, that's about maybe around $13,000 at the current rate. You can get a job as a gardener, construction, agriculture, roofing, carpenters, painters, and for women, you can go and become housekeepers, babysitters, or paint houses. So there's this offers that again are associated with both the journey and the opportunity to travel, to work, which may also make them attracted to people. So now we look at the perspective, from the perspective of the people who facilitate the services. Many of them are willing to answer your questions. Actually, when you go online and you tell them, in my case, I don't obscure the goals of my research. I tell them I'm a researcher. You can look me up online, and this is what I do. And of course, like many of them are going to tell me, I'm the greatest, I'm the best, I'm the fastest, I've never left anyone behind. And other people are going to tell me, like, I cannot guarantee you anything. That's the way smuggling works. If somebody makes it there, it will be great. And if not, there's nothing we can do. We try, we offer specific arrangements, and this is what comes out of them. But in short, it's very hard to tell, how effective this marketing is. We know that, or it appears rather, that most offers are fraudulent, and they definitely carry negative outcomes for the purchaser, whomever is trying to buy or acquire some of the services. What I find very interesting is how many people, again, go online after they have been scammed and expose the scammer. And because they have copies of their IFE, their voting card, or pictures of the person with their children, they pretty much burn them. This is, very graphic terms again. This is the kind person who took my money. If you know him or her, don't give them your money. They are only, they are scammers. Solo te van a estafar. So there's a lot of those conversations online. But sadly, hardly anyone reports. When you encourage people, like, if you have the receipts, you could actually go. Many times it's the shame, like, I'm not going to go to the police department and tell them that I gave my money to a smuggler. Many other times it's like, no, because maybe I may be able to recover some of my money. There's still that hope and that expectation that something good may come out of it. Something that a lot of plenty of advertisers are complained about is that people often just ask. Nomás me quitan el tiempo, they just waste my time. And like I actually, after I talked with somebody, one of them, said something along those lines. Out of 100 that asks for information will do business with me. So it's not, and you can see the level of response, after that. And I have often wondered if they don't do this on purpose so that they can get additional business. Because as you can imagine, all of those comments are like, hey, can you give me information? Like, are you actually working on this? Can you recommend somebody? So it may actually be part of another way of expanding the scam. And again, people do not necessarily, it doesn't seem that like everyone that is going to that requests information actually purchases the services, but there's a lot of curiosity. And again, there are all of these inquiries that are sent out to find out if that person is really working the way they say they do. And something that I think that we don't talk about much is how, and I think it was at the last event that somebody brought up the fact that teenagers were also being recruited to provide many of the services. But social media is also a platform, for facilitators to recruit assistance or at least advertise the requests for support. So here, the one that we have here is urge levantador, alguien que quiera chambear, no nomás hablen, échenle bien. So, I'm in an urgent need of somebody who can do a pickup and somebody who wants to work, not just talk. So reach out to me. And then this one, was actually this guy really needed somebody right away. I think was that around that time? I believe I collected this one around the time of the San Antonio the incident in San Antonio, if you recall, with the migrants perished in the back of a truck. There was a lot of demand for work, for assistance. So there was a lot of activity in several of the groups. So the next one is, I need somebody to do a pickup, somebody who is responsible right now on road 50, Highway 57, so that you can bring them up to San Antonio. It's urgent. This freaking, levantadores of nowadays, they just do whatever they want and they leave the job. They dump the jobs. So many times there's also, again, this conflict and arguments among the providers or the facilitators themselves. And again, this may be done to entice the curiosity of people who may be looking for services, and not necessarily because they are actually fighting each other or competing, over business. Most of those who engage in this kind of activity are men. Women hardly ever get into the back and forth over who was the right person to do the job. In terms of, so what I've shared with you is most of the content that you're going to find online is of this nature, and like all of this messages, people who offer services, people who are soliciting the help of facilitators, some of their support. But then there is the content that you can actually access online. I've never been in a situation of risk or danger with any of the people that I have interviewed, but I am not naming anybody here, and I'm not putting any specific names to their links. If you're interested in, we can talk about that later. I'll be happy to do that. But when I talk about professionalization in terms of social media, I'm talking about the people who upload content directly on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And they seem to be, from what we know, are younger people who have more awareness of how to handle and how to reach audiences. Some of them have actually taken the training that Google offers on how to develop your brand. And are very proud of the fact that they are followed, by tens of thousands of people. There's two of them that I've been interviewing over the years. One of them actually had reached almost 500,000 followers before YouTube shut him down. And another one has right now about 90,000 followers. Again, and here the key, because I think it was one of the questions, is like, how come Facebook, YouTube, other social media platforms, how come they don't bring them down? They are not advertising services. So they are not they are not saying, call me, this is, we cross you. You're not going to find any Lo Paso en El Paso, and many of these ones. And here I'm talking again about those who have a very large following. That is how they have been able to remain for the platforms. So, but if you watch the content, you will see that in fact suggests that they have ties to people who are facilitating them. Many of them also upload the content from the people that they travel with, or also the guides who work for them. So you're going to see a lot of videos of people, being crammed in the back of a car, or you have seen probably also the videos of people climbing the fence, using ropes or makeshift tools to be able to penetrate the wall. Many times, and this is what they themselves complain about, I got reported and I got taken down, or, I have to regain access to my account because, somebody complained that I was selling services. So many times their accounts are taken down, but they usually reemerge under different names. Or by then they have also established relationships with most of the people, and they just reach out to them through their other social media accounts. They may have several active at the same time, and they just move followers from one to the other. And this is again this was actually part of a capture of a video that one of them uploaded. So it says, my personal Facebook account was vetoed. Eliminated. They are saying that I am famous now. Ha ha ha. Therefore, they are only allowing me to use the pages that I control. And so, here is but what can we do? Like, why is it that these pages aren't taken, are not taken down? Full disclosure, I have been a consultant for Facebook, and this is part of the policy that they have in place. So if anybody goes to if you type policy, smuggling policy, Facebook, this is what you're going to get. So Facebook is asking its users, this is what you shouldn't post. Content that recruits people for, facilitates or exploits people through any of the following forms of human trafficking. And they include, and here we see several forms of human trafficking. Human trafficking and migrant smuggling are different offenses. But in this case, they include at the end, content that offers to provide or facilitate human smuggling and content that asks for human smuggling services. It is also, as you can imagine, very hard to monitor and police all of this content, And this is the policy rationale that Facebook has offered or has provided for their decision not to bring down some of that content. So they allow content, and this is something that has, I believe, generated some media about their decision. It was the fact that they allow content asking for or sharing information about personal safety and border crossing, seeking asylum, or how to leave a country. So this is these are some of the. They don't want, and Facebook at the same time does not want to impede people from accessing information that could facilitate them reaching safety. And again, this again comes directly from the people who are uploading some of the content. They are very aware of the fact that as long as they don't advertise that they are selling the service, they are not going to be, even if they are reported, it's very difficult that they will fall under the terms of the policy.
Dr. Sanchez, thank you very much.
No, sure. Thank you, everyone.